am Electra Stone, and this is Coursen's Corner.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great.
Well, we were talking about OnlyFans.
Yes.
Randomly. Not that either of us are on it.
Well, I took my shoes off, and we talked about maybe for selling.
I was saying we could just have like a side hustle.
Yes. We begin with
for the foot fetish clan.
Yeah. That may just be what you need to do from now on. That will be the tipping point.
That's a devastating. Not pro-sex podcast. No disrespect for anyone who does it, but no one wants to see me on OnlyFans.
Hey, you'd be surprised.
Let's just be perfectly.
I don't know about that.
Let me put it this way: the people who would want to see me on OnlyFans are probably not
your cup of tea.
Not my cup of tea.
Okay, good.
But thank you for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
But you've worked with some people that have some foot fetishes.
Yes, I have. My Quentin Tarantino, if you're referring.
Not. I don't think he's in the closet about that. If anyone's seen what's the? I literally just asked you 5 minutes ago.
Oh, Once Upon a Time
in Hollywood. Yeah, the Margot Robbie taking off her shoes and putting them on the back of the chair and everything.
If you see every single movie he's done, he's had a woman without shoes in some scene, putting her feet somewhere.
Even in
Inglourious Basterds. Remember, they took her shoe off, and she had
they do the whole thing. And then I was trying to think in Pulp Fiction.
It doesn't.
She does the thing. She does the toes on the carpet, right?
Yeah. There's always someone. He's been, he's pretty open about it. He's been a good friend for many, many years, and I worked with him in several films. And my very first film, he had my twin sister tap me on my tits with her feet. Yeah. Okay. And we were 16-year-old nannies, we were like babysitters in that scene, and he, overshot. That's a very famous shot. I've signed many autographs with that shot. Yeah, right on my tits.
And that was Grindhouse?
Grindhouse, yeah.
Which was a Rodriguez film.
Rodriguez Tarantino, so it was a double feature. And it was an homage to the Grindhouse style movies from the 70s. It was sexploitation and violence exploitation. And that was, we got to do two actually. We were in Planet Terror, which was Tarantino co-directed, but then we developed a great relationship, and he wrote us into Death Proof, which was the part that he did.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
How did that relationship foster?
It began, he actually walked up to me on set next to Robert. Robert was next to us, and he's my uncle, so he's very protective.
Robert Rodriguez is your uncle?
Yes. Well, he was by blood. He was not by blood, sorry. He was by marriage. He was married to my aunt, Elizabeth Avellan. She's a film producer, very successful. And by the grace of nepotism, we got the opportunity to audition for Grindhouse when I was 19. And he gave us a role. It was really great. I mean, he wanted one babysitter in the movie, and my sister and I came in to audition, and we got into an argument in front of him, and he's like, "This is what I want. I want two crazy." He's like, "I want crazy Latinas bitching at each other," and so he expanded the role into twins, and it was really fun.
I found out today that you're a twin. We've been friends for 3 years now, and I've learned 10 new things about you in the last 15 minutes.
Well, you must. Anytime I post something on social media of her, you must think it's me. For all this time, you must be thinking that must be her. No,
you two look very similar.
Yeah.
But I definitely know who you are.
But now you know. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was listening to another podcast that you did. Can't remember the name of it. And he was talking about how he had interviewed your sister, your twin sister. And I was like, she's a twin?
Yeah.
I was like, how did I was like, how did I not know you have a twin?
Yeah. I do. And we've done... it's been an incredible journey, especially in entertainment, because you're so alone as an actor. And it was great to do that with her. And then she left, and I continued.
But when you first moved, you moved here from Venezuela?
Venezuela,
right?
16.
You were 16. But you came to Texas first.
Yes. So we went to Dallas, and we did high school in Dallas in Plano. My dad was engaged to someone there, and he got hired to do Sin City. And he had to move to Austin. My dad was also a behind-the-scenes director, an editor, Foley editor, sound editor.
Oh, your dad's in the industry?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did. He did for a while. And then he walked, and we built a dairy company, a raw dairy company. So he ended up becoming a cheesemaker and leaving the entertainment industry many years later. But yeah, he did Sin City. And so we were there. We were around on set. And I was just like mesmerized. I had done acting my whole life in Venezuela. Growing up, my mom was a very famous actress in Venezuela. So when we got here, we're like, well, no brainer.
Yeah.
Just continue to do the same thing. And we got that film, and it just changed our lives. It catapulted us to Hollywood.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Then
And I developed the relationship with Quentin as a friendship, and it was like every time I've been around him, he's been like, "Let me massage your feet." Like, can I? We could be a fucking Soho house, and he's like, "Do you mind if I just massage your feet?" I'm like, "Just fucking fine," Yeah,
Yeah, so now I'm just thinking of like all the dialogue that has to do with the foot massage in Pulp Fiction.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah, he's very open about it. Though he's a much more serious person now. He has a kid and he got married, and he's definitely he buttoned up a little bit.
Well, he's a hell of a director.
Oh, he's incredible.
I mean,
yeah,
his movies are
nothing compares.
I can't wait to see
what's next.
Well, it's supposed to be his final one.
He says that.
Right?
Yeah. I can't imagine him stopping. Yeah, he's a storyteller.
Well, I don't think he'll stop like writing
Creating.
or producing. He may stop directing, like if he wanted to really do because it was like 10 films he wanted to do, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. And I wonder why it's so arbitrary. I don't know. I need to ask him that.
Oh.
We'll see.
We got one more.
I'll let you know when I find out.
Please do.
It'll be our secret.
Yes. I won't tell anyone except my entire audience.
Yeah.
So when did you wind up back in Texas?
So I spent good 10 years in LA. I came back in 2013, but on and off. But 2013, I was like, all right, I'm dying. I'm physically sick. At the time I weighed 88 pounds when I came to.
That's light.
Yeah. I'm naturally in a healthy state. I'm like 120. So I was very, very skinny, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, and I have none of it, by the way. It was my misdiagnosis, but Western medicine, not entirely digging in. No doctor ever asked me if I was eating the wrong things, or never asked me about my diet, what my lifestyle was. And I ended up very, very, very lucky. I got to meet this incredible woman, Shannon Cohen. She's been my mentor. She's one of the best coaches in the world. And she's the director of operations at Alive and Well. I'm sure you know about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And she said, come here, we'll help you heal at Alive and Well. And I'd love for you to join me. And I joined. And at the time, I was going back to school for psychology, and I wanted to understand more about my health. And I was like, I need a little job. And I started working at Alive and Well. And it's crazy, like that was such a crazy transition, because I went straight from Hollywood and making like $5,000 a day to someone telling me like, this is $14 an hour. Front desk job.
A little bit different, yeah.
It was great, but it changed my life. I loved it. And I learned about nutrition and the importance of nutrition, and that being the source of medicine that we began every day.
Have you been to, I saw Mike, he was in town a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Have you been to their new one in Dallas
I have not. But I helped the very early stages of the foundations of that. I left right before they began. I mean, we had started construction, but before like interior design and all that.
Right.
Yeah. I'm so proud of them.
They've
love
really
them.
done a great job.
Oh my gosh. They're a power couples too.
Oh, 100%.
I'm incredible.
Mike and Liz?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're both.
Yeah.
Because she was a cheerleader?
She was a cheerleader.
For like the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah. Yeah. So he was an athlete. He was an honorary athlete. And I forgot the sport. He was going to be mad at me for this, but at UT. So they both had that athletic
baseball.
Perseverance. It wasn't big. No, it wasn't.
Do you remember Mike Swell? Do you remember what sport it was?
It wasn't. It's the other softball. Is it for softball?
Men don't play softball.
No, not in softball.
Well, they do, but not.
Not real men.
Well, no, they on weekends men play softball, but not for
not professionally.
Or in a college sport, women would play softball, men would play baseball.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but he was.
I thought it was like track and field related, but I might be wrong.
I remember. Yeah, but meaning that they treat everything with the same perseverance that an athlete does, a professional athlete does. So they behave that way in every way. And you see it in how their lives have developed, and what they build is that laser focus. And no matter what, we're in this together.
Oh yeah. When my back went out a little over a year ago, like the peptides that they had and the stem cell, or not the stem cell, but the NAD and everything that really helped me to.
Can I tell you something about your back?
Sure.
If your back is hurting, I tell all my clients, tell me about your rage.
My rage? Oh, I've been through a lot of therapy about that, believe me.
Yeah, but so something could have triggered it that day or around that time. It could have been even a subconscious thought. And so the back is basically saying, you got to talk about this. Don't hold on. And yeah, I mean, that's a major part of what I do now.
So talk to me more about what
I do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Alive and Well opened my eyes about healing, and really how healing really happens and starts with the concept of nutrition, environment, and emotional well-being. Mm-hmm. And we say well-being and we think about it like, oh, are you in homeostasis? Are you feeling okay? But really, we develop our emotional addictions from 0 to 10 years old by creating identities of everything that happens in our lives. And emotional addictions, meaning emotionality is a chemical release. Mm-hmm. Every time. Anytime you have an emotion, there's a flush of chemicals in your body, in your brain, in your gut. And we begin this habitual addictions to very specific emotions from 0 to 10 years old based on our identities that we created from the experiences we had, our mothers, our fathers, what they said. And that is the source of our sabotage, is our attachment to that chemical dependency that we have to that specific emotion. And very often we shrug it off because we are not going to not live with that emotion.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was in therapy, my guy telling me, like when we're like 5 or 6 years old and we start realizing that the world's not this like perfect, beautiful place, and our ego hasn't really like fully developed yet, that we kind of go through this like decision-making thing where it's like, okay, so there's something wrong with the world. Yeah. Is it because the world's broken, or is it because I'm broken? Like, are my parents getting divorced because I wasn't good enough, or because of external factors? And we are so egocentric at that age that we just start thinking, oh, well, if I just behave better, maybe if I keep my room cleaner, maybe if I do this, that, the other thing, that those things will subside. So I can 1,000% agree, or at least believe in that those emotional precursors to whatever chemical releases is going on in our brain could absolutely have an impact for not just our childhood, but then throughout the rest of our life.
Oh, totally. And we hold on to these stories and these concepts. We decide, for example, one of the things that I decided as a child, and I'm very open about this, so things are about to get a little dark, guys. A little dark. I was 4 years old, and my mom was at a party. We came from the beach. She stops at this party. I guess someone must have called her. I'm not sure. She knew the party was going on. I'm 4. I don't know how she found out about this party, but she stops at this house. We had been to that house before, but she tells us to wait in the car. So my sister and I went in the car, and we have, my brother had not been born yet. And, we're strapped in, and she goes in, and this guy comes out of a guy we knew comes out of the house, and we love him. It was someone my mom knew very well. It's a friend of the group, the tribe that she had. And he comes out, and we're just like, so happy to see him. He's just like this incredible human. And he starts touching us. He starts molesting us in the kindest, softest, most loving way. This man was not weird. I mean, that's weird. But he did not. So we didn't recognize it at the time as abuse, obviously. We were just like, oh, this is just a new level of attention from him. It was really interesting what happened to us because of that, and what we took on, the identity we took on, and what we decided we understood about men, because we didn't have a father at the time. We met my dad when I was 9. So my real father. So I assumed love is this offering that this man is asking from me. This is what men need. This is what men want. So from that point on, I made a very clear statement that my body is to be offered to men. And so that began my journey of looking for that. And then when I was around 7 or 8 years old, my mom was like, men are predators. this and that, be careful as an actress, be careful on set, the predator's coming, I was predated on, this and so then I was like, oh, what's predator? Oh, that's predator. Oh, men, oh yeah, I know that. So then I was like, men are predators. So subconsciously, my mind is only looking for what it understands to be true. At a visceral level, I already knew. Mm-hmm. And subconsciously, I'm just looking for it. Even if I'm like, I don't want to be in a room with a predator. When you say, I don't want to be in a room, the mind goes, with a predator. So it's like looking for the predator.
Right.
And it's like, so of course you're going to be in a room with a predator. So where do I end up? In Hollywood with who? Literally one after the other. It was like bam, 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 bam. Rooms with producers of all kinds. And not only in Hollywood, it was before that too. It's like so many experiences where I finally one day was like, I need to stop this journey of abuse where literally everything was transactional. It's like, if you want to do this. So that's why in a way, my career never really took off because I just couldn't give in fully.
Right.
So this whole thing I'm doing now began because I realized I couldn't hate anymore. I couldn't hate men anymore. I had to understand what happened. Like why they do what they do, why I believed what I believed, why was I seeking that, and how humanity is constantly looking to understand what happened. And we either make someone a monster or we become the monster to understand what happened. So we very often are like, I had a client who said like, I'm a coach now, a functional coach. So I, coach him through his career, but, self-development. And he said to me, after working together for 6 months, he says, I have to tell you something that I've never told you. It's very strange. There's now the 5th woman that after we have sex, she tells me she didn't want to take it that far. And I was like, okay, what do you mean? Like, was she there and taking her clothes off? He's like, yeah. There was alcohol involved, but then at the next day, now the 5th woman in the last several years who says, I didn't want to do this. And I said, okay, what could have been the origin for you? Like, where do you think this is coming from? And he's like, nowhere. There's no predators in my life, like nothing. So we did a meditation to connect with the idea of predator or whatever, and where this could be coming from. And he had a major awakening to something that happened to him when he was 12 years old. And the nanny, abused him. She sat on his face at 12 years old. And he completely blocked it off. And you would think a 12-year-old would be like, fuck yeah, fuck, I'll take that. But it was not at the time where he could really understand what was going on. And he definitely, that blocking of it and the aloofness that happened in his life around it created an aloofness around the subject of predation. So then he became the predator aloofly. So he's trying to understand predation in that way and creating environments where a sexual act is happening, but it's not being spoken about, it's not being acknowledged, it's not on the table, it's not agreed upon prior. This is the ways in which we trip. We become things to understand it.
Yeah. So was he forcing himself onto these women, or
no,
was he just not
forced?
So there was no verbalized consent?
There's no verbalized consent. Maybe he's a very big guy, like tall and, big guy. And he gets whatever he wants. He's a sort of a Dan Bilzerian type who actually I worked with. And so women feel like they have to, in a way, give in. They're like, oh my God, I'm in the presence of this really powerful person. Like, I have to. And a lot of women don't have personal power around that. And they also are looking for the predator to prove to themselves what happened in the past and trying to understand it. So it's just like terrible. Like anytime a woman says to me, like, he's a fucking predator, I'm like, what happened before? Why did you get in the room and why did you make this person a predator? That's the other thing.
Well, I don't think you want to get into like a blaming the victim thing.
No. But you gotta own your responsibility around everything that happens.
Yes, that is true.
And like, I'm telling you, I've been in it more than 10 times. I had to own my part of it.
Yeah, no, and I've been in the room. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that like I haven't been like sexually harassed, but because I have. But there's a huge difference between someone like you trying to sexually harass me. At no point am I in fear of you hurting me.
Yeah.
physically.
Yeah.
You could break my heart all day. But you know what I'm saying? Like, but there is a certain
But if it was the other way around, it would be terrifying.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I've been in that place.
Yeah.
And of course.
And you see that a lot in a lot of like sexual assaults where like everyone's very familiar with like fight, flight, and freeze, but there's also fawn, which is a lot of people do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
I fawned many times. And when I understood fawning and the shame that fawn creates, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's just like
you think you allowed
people please. It's just I don't want to make it any worse. It's
you're like I must have wanted it because I didn't stop it. You know, but I was terrified when I really look back. I'm like I was terrified to say no. I was terrified to get first of all the history of violence on some of these individuals that I was in the room with. I'm like, why the fuck was I in a room with them anyway? Ding ding ding. Why did I go to a suite at the Four Seasons to have a meeting with that individual? Why would I ever do that?
Well, at that time, that was very common.
Very common, yeah.
Like,
and so that's it. But that
they had a nickname for the screening for a reason.
I know. I've been there.
So you're living with this your entire life. You come back from LA. You're working here in Austin. You got engaged.
Yes, and
married.
That's recently. It was just the last year and a half.
But I guess my question for you is like, at what point did you realize that this was something that you needed to work through? Was there a tipping point? Was there a straw that kind of...
The Me Too movement definitely helped. It was like, what? Like to find out that, Harvey Weinstein was being sent to a prison. I was like, oh my gosh, big awakening. And then I was like, I have to look at this. What's going on? And at the time, I had just started dating Elliot, my partner now, my husband now. And I remember we were actually on our second date, and we were on a kayak in the lake. And I said, or a canoe on the lake. And I remember my whole body started freezing, and I started shaking out of nowhere. And I thought, oh my God, this guy's about to rape me out of nowhere. And he was like, what's going on? What's happening with you? And I'm like, I don't know. Are you about to hurt me? And he's like, what? It's like, I would never. It's like, what do you mean? What do you think I'm about to do to you? I was like, and then it was like word vomit. Spencer, I literally was like, I have to tell you this. And I just like, I just told him all these things. And he just like stood there like, what the fuck? He's just like, this is our second date. And he's just like, okay, this chick needs help. Like, and it was immediate. Like he's like, let's start talking. Let's start, immediately we decide to go celibate and do 6 months of no sexual contact so that we can get to know each other and love each other without that being present. And we had not had sex yet. We had only kissed. So that was the beginning of our relationship. It was very difficult because my whole value was wrapped up in sex, and all I knew was to be my sexual prowess. And like, I knew how to, get men with sex, and I woke up to that 6 months to be like, oh, I'm more than this. And I'm really angry, and I need to talk about this. I need to write it. And then I realized this anger is going nowhere if I don't try to understand these men and the brokenness that they come from, and that really was an incredible realization when I dove in to try to understand these men and what I knew to be true. And I was able to get very close to some of them because I knew them and I knew their families. And I went back to get to know what happened. And there were incredible moments of awe. And I've had some of the most powerful producers in Hollywood on their knees crying like babies, and I'm holding them like I'm their mother, and just full forgiveness cycle. And that's where my coaching journey began.
That's beautiful. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. And I love them. I mean, I love them all. I love every single man that's has ever come to me with that predation that I ever felt victimized by. There's only love and appreciation for them. And I wish I could have mothered them. I really wish I could have, because that's all they needed, a complete different set of listening.
For those men who might be listening to this who know that they have that proclivity for that kind of predation.
Yeah.
Is there a recommendation you would give to them?
Yeah. Ask for help, including the pedophiles. the world is changing. I really believe it, Spencer. There are a lot of people, and that's why, by the way, why I actually quit school is because I was being held to like the license, the psychology license, and being a therapist and a counselor. You're supposed to report a lot of things that come to you. And I decided I was not going to be the person that reported the predator. I'm going to be the person that listens and understands. And so I became a coach. So I don't care to lose a license. I'm a coach. In America, you don't have, I am a certified coach, but you don't have to, a license doesn't matter as a coach. So I actually, a lot of the men that I work with now and women who have come to me and told me, I practice pedophilia, or I need help because I have the desire to do so, or I'm paying a family to let me do that in the future to another kid in another country. I've had world leaders share that with me. I've had to be like, okay, let's get to the reasons why this is happening. And when we do like 6-day intensives where I'm with them every single waking minute for 6 days, and we unpack their entire lives and get through all of it. And then they completely unattach from the attachment of child energy because they go back to the truth. They go back to what's really there. Now, this is for the people who have trauma. There are psychopaths and sociopaths who are born with that leaning, that neurological leaning, which there's really no way to, if you have pedophilia and you have sociopathic tendencies, it is very difficult to change that.
Sociopathic or narcissistic?
Narcissistic is different. So sociopathic is basically you are completely unattached from human emotion. Mm-hmm. And so you just do not care about feeling. You can't empathize in any way. And people are born sociopathic.
People also are born narcissistic.
Yeah, well, narcissist develops, people are not born narcissistic. It develops from the time from 8 to 13 is when they say the narcissist gets developed and like locked in, the narcissist tendency. And it's from extreme abandonment from childhood. But once you're a narcissist, that's one of the hardest ones to turn. I work with many. But the ones that could...
This is me wondering if I'm a narcissist.
You know what? We can all...
I'm not, but...
We can all... So I was raised by a narcissist. There's one of my parents is a narcissist. I'm not gonna lean into the specifics, but I had to be able to really change the influence. I had to own the histrionic tendencies I have, because that's what happens. We have the tendencies as if we're raised in that environment, or if we're abandoned deeply as children, if there was any like strong abuse. Because the narcissist's mind, what it does, it says, nobody is here for me. I'm all alone. Mm. And so you take it on and you go and you live it, and you then prove it to yourself in teenage years and in young adulthood. And then that's all you do. You spend the rest of your life proving to yourself that you're alone. You can be in a room full of people and feel alone and feel like you're doing it all by yourself. You know, if you tell yourself that story, it's like, well, that's your story. That's a narcissist's mind, is I'm alone everywhere. So that's the hardest one to turn. And well, psychopathic and sociopathic, which I try not to, as soon as I recognize it in someone's eyes, I let go of the profile. I don't work with them.
How much certainty? I want to say two things. One is that I think it's beautiful that you are able to take the pain that you carried for a long time and do good with it, do legitimate good with it. Second thing is that I'm not so sure, even in my like in my evolution of like leaning away from the violence and leaning more towards the compassion. Yeah. The two things that boil my blood more than anything is violence against women and children.
Yeah.
And so I'm not so sure that I could be across from someone who goes, I'm planning to go, assault a child and let him draw another breath. Well. Or some guy tell me I'm planning on sexually assaulting several women and allow him to draw another breath.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I have to tell you, I was gonna reach out to you because it sucks sometimes to be in the position I'm in as a coach, because a lot of the people I work with are incredibly high profile, and I don't only work with people who are like damaged. Like I'm working with people who want to take 100 million to 1 billion, who want to, just completely scale their lives or get out of the consumer cycle once they reach a certain place of success and like just relax in their lives and really find sacred partnership. And so it depends. It's really just a completely finding their hearts again is what I teach people, and like leaning with heart-led leadership. But in that, it's interesting because I can't tell people, some of the people I work with, I can't talk about them because they're so big and famous or whatever, or high profile politicians or whatever they may be. But there was one individual that came into Austin, and we met at the Capitol. And that was where I told him we had to meet for the first time because he's not a safe person. But he's a public persona. Everyone knows who he is. And then we were set to meet at a hotel, which I'm not going to mention because it was public that he was being there. It was going to be there. And I wanted you to come because I was so scared of how deep we were going to go and where it was going to lead. And there was a moment where I had to, I had my sister in the other room actually the whole time. And I wanted you there so badly. I was like, I think he would be, I even told my husband, I was like, I don't know why I feel like Spencer should be the person that holds the space. But I was like, I think Spencer's going to pop a fucking cap on this guy. Like, if he hears this conversation, he's going to be like, this motherfucker's out. But it was amazing. The evolution was so incredible. And by the end of the weekend, he, in front of me, connected with his family that he had been basically engaging to be able to hurt someone in that family. Mm-hmm. And he was paying them to do so. So, because of his pain. But once he found the source, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It is amazing.
Because he doesn't want to end up in prison. He doesn't, nobody.
Well, no bad guy wants to get caught.
But it's not about it. That's the thing. I don't think anybody really wants to be a bad guy. They just want to feel their feelings. They want to feel their feelings.
Well, yeah, the good guy bad. This is something I've been working on myself, but
But I hear you. I hear you.
It's one of those like morals are always at their highest when the situation is at its most hypothetical.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can sit here and tell you I want to be a good man, but then put temptation in front of me and we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Or I had some still working through some of it. Like, was I a good guy who was capable of doing bad things, or was I a bad guy who was capable of like masking the good, between me?
Yeah.
And they're
not mutually exclusive.
No, they're not. But kind of like the aha moment during the Me Too for you, there was an aha moment for me recently with all these like veteran organizations that are popping up where guys are being a little more open about their vulnerabilities and their traumas and their PTSD and whatnot, that you kind of go, oh, okay.
Me too.
Yeah. No, quite literally.
Yeah.
But Tim Kennedy was on Chris Williamson's podcast a little bit ago. And it was nice hearing Tim also talk about like, am I a good guy? Am I a bad guy? Like, where does that duality meet? And he's like, if I'm out there as a tool for my government with intention and purpose, doing what is asked of me, that is not evil. But he's like, if there's a man who gets up every day to go to a job he hates, to support kids he doesn't care about, to go home to a wife he doesn't love, like, is that a good man? Because he was like, I'd say they're not.
Exactly.
So it's like there's variance.
Yeah.
To all of this.
But, and I like the way what you just said. It's interesting about the good and the bad. I believe that we become bad when we don't honor what we really want. And I think that most of us are living lives we don't want to live. And bad meaning we're angry and we're making decisions that are stifling every desire that's coming through. And if we really get to the source of desires, we can really honor, okay, why am I angry? Why am I craving this if it's something that is illegal and the world is protecting itself from? So it's like, okay, what happened? Is there a source to this? What happened in the past? So you start dismantling it. But at the very core, a man who is going home and not with a wife he wants and not a job he wants and not kids he wants, he's just not being honest with himself.
Right.
And he doesn't need to be bad, or he's not a bad person. He's being bad to himself. And that's literally what it is no love, no self-love. that's where I created that. The name of the company, Amar, the Amar method, it was the code to love. You got to love. Love is the answer. Is that I ask people, what would love do in this moment? What would love do right now in these feelings that you have? You know?
What answers do you get?
Oh, my husband sometimes just knocks on the door of my office and is like, are you okay? I'm just like, I'm just crying for humanity. I get so many. I mean, you know, I'm here, like, we're both sitting on the ground, which he's never sat on the ground before. It was a really interesting thing. He's like, oh, never sit on the ground, ever. That's beneath me. And I was like, and we're going to sit on the ground because you are paying me to be here right now. And you flew all the way here to work with me. So we sat on the ground. I was looking at him, and we basically what I bring people to the kindergarten. We're both in kindergarten. We're both children right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking at him, and I just, like, for a very long time, pure silence. And we came to the place where he started feeling love, my love for him. Even though I don't know him, I could feel my love for this child in him. And I said, what would love do right now? And he said, I want to love that little girl that he wanted to hurt. I want to love her. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to hate her. And I said, why do you hate her? Why? What is it? What's at the pain? What's at the core? And we found that he remembers very clearly his uncle hurting his little sister in front of him, and sexually abusing the little sister, and over and over for years, and he couldn't do anything about it, and thought this was identity. The uncle became someone that the family very, very much supported and celebrated. He was the most successful person in the family. And so he sort of was like, oh, this is why it must become, to get the love of mom and dad. And this is what we do. Mm-hmm. Right? Nothing happened to him, but he witnessed something, a horrible act. And he thought, this is a man of respect. And all he wanted was to save his sister. But he has so much anger and confusion as a child, the 5-year-old that didn't understand what was going on, that he creates this persona. He doesn't know where the desire is coming from. He's not a born pedophile. He witnessed a heinous act, and he has no idea where the desires are coming from. So we just get to the core. It's so Freudian, it sucks, because everyone's like, this is so Freudian. But it's like, it's just what we're made of. It's the recipe that came.
As powerful as those sessions are, and as dynamic as the takeaways may be, what, for the lack of a better word, like safeguards or protections are in place to make sure it doesn't happen? Yeah,
my husband actually said, he put his foot down on the last one that I had. He said, no more allocation they pick. But when it's a world leader, it's tough. But, billionaires are tough because they decide, like, it's going to be this home and this. And usually they want it to be in bumfuck, like, right. Somewhere like in the lake, like so far away from the city, they have security, make sure that there's no cameras anywhere. So they control the location. So it's been an interesting process. And like, there's I can't say name, but there's an individual in Romania, and you can just assume who that is, who, the requirement was that I went to Romania, and my husband said, you absolutely won't do that. You're not going, and you're not going to be in a room with that man. So I was like, okay, I missed that contract. I missed that check. But I would have loved to work with him, because I think that is really what he's missing.
Right. No, your personal safety is paramount. I'm talking more about the guys who are telling you that they're planning to go hurt children.
Oh, yeah.
Who, after sitting with you for a while, may have...
So there's nothing I can do about it. I've talked to the authorities about this, because the very first one that came in, I was like, oh my God, I sat with it I was like, I got to tell someone. So I met with lawyers about it, and it's hearsay. So there's nothing I can do about it. I can report someone if they said they did something. I've never, and especially if they did it in America, that's the other thing. And then how long it's been since. So all of this aspects take place on how I report something, but I've never been able. I've never had to, and I've wanted to. There have been moments where I felt responsible to do that, but I went through the channels, and there was just nothing to do.
I know. And one of the real sad realities of the child sex trade business is just how much of it is families pimping out their own kids.
Yeah.
Like, you see in the movies, like, it's, you know, like kids in caravans being like trafficked across state lines, and that absolutely does happen.
Yeah. But
a very significant portion of the
sex trade, the
sex trade, the tourism, in Thailand and other developing countries, is the families actually inviting that man into their home to do that to their child.
Yeah, I know. And it was news to me when I heard it directly from the man who was hiring a family. Yeah. So I was like, anyway, it was really, it's terrifying. And at the same time also like, wow, this is what we are, humans. Mm-hmm. And really understanding that. And so the most important thing I think when it comes to evolution is to stop demonizing each other and trying to understand why. Because if we don't understand something, we cannot grow from it.
No, I completely agree with you. I live a lot of my life as a hammer, and when you walk around as a hammer, everything's a nail.
Yes.
Exactly. But as I
was the nail. I was like, I'm a nail everywhere.
Not one of mine, but no. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm a nail, I'm a nail. 100%. Everything is a hammer. It's like, I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to be a nail or a hammer. Like, what else can I be? Can I be the hand?
Well, yeah. And I think, one of the things I think we have both found is how much good we can do through compassion.
Yes.
Through understanding, through accepting, and maybe not agreeing with what people are doing or what their choices are, but at least understanding the framework, understanding the background, having compassion for the circumstance, or the lack of love that may have permeated their entire life. Mm-hmm. And it's in the healing of others, we can sometimes help to heal ourselves as well.
Yeah. And even being in the non-judgment, but even the pain, when we're going through the pain of things, of any kind, where something is being reflected, like watching someone or witnessing someone trigger us. I think that's been one of my lately, just as I'm in this conversation of compassion and understanding and reminding people of the truth. If I have any triggers, I'm presented with the immediate understanding. It's like, oh, what I used to do is leave myself behind. Now I can just look at it and be like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, which transformed my relationship with my husband. I can say, I'm telling myself a story that it may not be true. And you're the monster right now, and he's just like, well, we know that's not true, right? I'm like, I know it's not true. So,
oh yeah, I've had like girlfriends like have a dream that I cheated on them and then woke up very mad at me.
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
sure.
Well, I've never cheated on anyone ever. It's like, it's gonna be a little bit of a break.
You have no choice, you're a cheater.
But you're working with a lot of women now too, yeah?
I work with a lot of women. Yeah, and that's the inevitable part. It sort of began with me creating the space for women to feel, And someone who's been a catalyst for me to step into the retreat space. My first retreat when I was like 16 years old. I did a 10-day meditation of noble silence retreat. And
when you were 16,
16,
you did 10 days of silence. How many 16-year-olds do you think could do that today?
Oh, I was the only 16-year-old there. And I don't know, today I have no idea. Social media, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it changed my understanding of how people heal, and oh, there's another way of doing things. And it was, just radical. But really the tipping point for me to be like, I'm going to do this was Garen Jones. Garen Jones? Yeah, Garen. I went to one of his retreats and I was like, wow, like he really
Where was that?
Leans in. Here in Austin. He actually came into Alive and Well, and I was sitting behind the desk. And I can't tell you how many people would walk into Alive and Well, and because California moved to Austin, first of all.
Oh, yeah. As anyone at the dog park will tell you.
Yeah. And so in the last several years, they would be like, oh my God, are you Electra from this movie or this TV show?
Go spend an hour at Sun Life with Khalil and see all that.
Exactly.
Like, people
it was
that come
Sun Life
in.
right next to us. So all these people would recognize me, and it was like, it was such a...
Oh, that's right. There is one in Bee Cave.
Yeah. So it was like a smash on my ego as an actress to like be behind the front desk and be like, fuck, yes, yes, I used to act, yes. But Garen walked in one day and said, who are you? And I was like, oh, I had seen him downtown once with Liz Well, and they talked for a bit, and we met for a moment, and then came to 11 Well, and he said, who are you? And I was like, oh, I'm Electra, nice to meet you. And he said, get the fuck out of that front desk. And I was like, what? He's like, no, you're not in this, running this. This is not for you. And I was like, what are you saying? And he's like, you're going to come to my retreat. I was like, okay, you want me to pay $7,000? I was like, all right, bro. I was like, what a great way to sell someone, bro. You drove the pain straight in. He said, no, I'm sponsoring you. You're coming. And so he sponsored me. Alive and Well. And so we ended up hooking him up with a bunch of really great VIP bags from Alive and Well. So thank you. And, Michael was really great. It didn't work for Michael because Karen convinced me to leave Alive and Well. But he wasn't trying to do that. He was like, you need to see your power. You're in the wrong place. I see you. I see what you came to do. At that retreat, at the very end of the retreat, the last day, he had a Kundalini activation happen. And
I'm sorry, what?
A Kundalini.
I have no idea what that is.
Oh my God.
Do you know what that is?
We gotta teach him.
All right, what is...
Okay, Kundalini. Okay, that's a long thing, but it's a practice. Is
it like yoga?
It's a philosophy, Kundalini, but it's a practice where you basically awaken your sexual energy and your creative energy, and it's the energy source. I mean, I'm sure Lauren probably has better words for that, but he had this woman teach this movement, his breath and this movement for you to activate the Kundalini in your body, which is all creative energy.
Kundalini?
Yes.
Okay. Well, every day is school day.
Yes, Kundalini. Our entire creative energy is coming from, first of all, the womb is coming from
well, solar plexus. Art comes from like one of two places. It's either beauty or pain.
Yes, but also remember, where do we create from? We create from our reproductive organs. We create life from there. All our creative energy begins there. So if you're on the predator energy or the victim energy, you're stifled. So you have to have flow. Kundalini releases the flow of that, whatever block may be. So you're doing breath to release that. A lot of people who do Kundalini work, they hallucinate because it's like a lot of the anger feelings, all the chemicals get released.
If you do breath work, right, it does have a psych.
That's my main point of work with my clients, yeah. I went back, I told Michael I love him, I told Shannon she changed my life, and I had to go open my company. I did offer Michael to open a retreat company and be the lead coach for Alive and Well. And he said, this is not the moment. I was like, well, let's open a network. I want to create an information network. He's like, we don't have time for that. I was like,
I wonder if he would do that.
I think Alive and Well should run retreats. It would be...
No, I mean, Michael, would he, is that something he would like to do?
A retreat?
To lead a retreat.
I don't think he would lead well, I think he could. I think Michael, he's in finance. His mind is very much practical.
He's a 0 and 1s guy.
Yes. And so, that strong finance mindset, what I find is it requires, before he leans into the leadership of that, it requires enormous emotional development. And so he needs, and not that he doesn't have it, he's very emotional intelligent, but he has to be so practical all the time that he has to put it away. I mean, he has four daughters and a wife, so he's the only man in there.
We've talked about it. It's like,
so he's like,
there's going to be a time where a Secret Service surveillance van is going to be following all of them.
And he is in that mode all day long. Protection, practicality. He has emotionality all around him. And so I think he's a pendulum swinging the opposite direction. Yeah. So I think he needs a lot of probably alone time, private time, and to go do some development work on his own outside of the world that holds him to being the person, the protector, the practical, the finance, the provider for, 40 women that are alive and well. He needs that alone time.
The women that you bring to your... I'm sorry, the word escaped me again. Not summit, retreat?
Yeah, and I do a summit. The Amar Summit.
Is it the AMR Summit?
The Amar Summit.
The Amar Summit. Do you find that, obviously everyone's coming from different backgrounds and different experiences, different skill sets, different traumas, different whatever. Do you find that a lot of the women are all coming for the same thing? Is it to be more confident? Is it to be more empowered? Is it to be more in tune with leaning in? Or what do you
So
find?
it depends. I don't hold this. So the Amar method, and I love to, it's literally a 5-step, the easy version, the easy equation. I'll tell it to you. But the Amar method can be applied to pretty much anything. So I redesign each experience. So for example, I did one for founders, female founders in November. And I did one for what I called world visionaries. And that was last year in June. And that was like world leaders and stuff, very, very fucking private. Like, nobody knew about it. I didn't put
it's an invite only thing.
Yes. And I'm doing one of those only for men in Mexico in November. It's like very, very few men are coming, and it's going to be, very private. So I'm not publicizing that one. That was just word of mouth, like invite only. So I tailor it, but the method, I'll tell you the method. So very simply put, and it has a lot of steps, but I'll give you the steps that basically can be applied to pretty much anything in life, and you can apply it to your life and you as well. You need a clear vision. For anything you want, you need to know exactly what it is that you want. Most people don't realize they don't know what they want. In everything. Like, they don't know what they want that day.
I completely agree with you, because one of the first questions I ask every client who hires me is, what does winning look like? And so many of them can't answer that question.
Exactly. They don't know. So clear vision. Emotional signaling. What does that mean? Our RAS is, our lizard brain, to put it in layman's terms, is protecting us from everything it knows to be true, and everything it knows has hurt us, has hurt you. So it's going to do everything it can to raise a red flag and say, no, we're not doing this, and sabotage anything that you want to do that's different than you've done before. So you have to have a stronger emotional signaling to stifle the fear. The only way to stifle fear, you have to have ecstatic enthusiasm for what you want, for that clear vision.
So that's kind of like allowing yourself to get outside of the comfort zone and into like the magic zone.
Yes, you gotta be in the magic zone about what you want to create, or you will sabotage it, because your lizard brain is protecting you.
Right.
It's saying, no, what if they laugh? Remember what happened then. Remember here, remember that story.
Yeah, the fear factor will actually stymie the...
Yes, what if they take the love away? What if parents don't approve? Whatever the fuck it may be. So the third is acceptance. Acceptance that things are going to change. You're going to lose people. You will be judged. You're going to have to isolate yourself. You're going to have to change your schedule. You're going to change things. You got to accept the things that you have to change, right? So acceptance is a huge part of the process. You got to create healthy chaos. Healthy chaos is one of the strangest things for people to grasp. But if you think about it, we were born into chaos and through chaos. The conception act alone, sex is chaotic, but the birth act, for fuck's sakes, is so chaotic. So we walk into the earth like through this chaotic experience, and we go through life learning through chaos and craving chaos. And unfortunately, we create systems of chaos that are not supporting us. So you can create healthy chaos. Athletes have healthy chaos. So pushing your body in great ways. So you do that.
Yeah.
The great trainings you've done, and why you're able to be a successful man, why you're able to write a book, is because you know healthy chaos. You push yourself through healthy chaos. I'm sure you've had unhealthy chaos before, but it's like if you...
My entire life.
Yeah, but it's like, but you can recognize which one is best. Yeah. And so you lean into the healthy chaos so that you stop leaning into the unhealthy chaos, which we're going to lean into naturally. So you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to work out, I'm going to do this, whatever you may be. So you have to make all the list of things that are healthy chaos. And then the very, very last and very simple is aligned compromise.
Aligned
compromise. We very often are like, no, I am not doing this. Or I want this, and there will be no way that I'll do it this way. It's like, wait a minute. What do you want? What's your clear vision? How excited are you about it? What do you need to change? And where can you align with that person in this moment to get what you want?
Just to keep the Kelly's name getting brought into every podcast conversation consistent.
Yeah.
She did a TikTok or an Instagram story something the other day. She was like, listen, if you want to grow your glutes, this is what you have to do.
I saw it yesterday.
This is what you have to do. It starts with eating a lot, it's like calorie surplus, prioritizing protein, heavy lifts, with like, and then like a couple other things. And they're like, so if you're not willing to eat a lot to grow your glutes, you're not like good.
Clear vision
Great for you, but you're not good. Then this is not for you.
Clear vision of your glutes.
Then if this is what you really want, this is what you have to do. Yeah. This is me in 2019. This is me in 2023.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, she's a work of art.
Oh, Kelly's a savage. Kelly's a straight savage. Like, this is like 3 of the most humbling hours of my week. Are like, man.
You train with her every week?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Khalil and I both.
She's amazing. Yeah, she's one of definitely.
But your aligned compromises point kind of goes to that. It's like you're gonna have to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Like you're gonna have to do the, it's
But that goes like if you were fucking ecstatic as shit about your vision.
Yeah.
You're gonna do it.
Yeah, Alex Hormozy had a great thing the other day. He's like, this guy, he wrote me. He's like, so I get up every morning and I journal, and then I do my gratitude. He's like, and I do this and I do that, and I do the red R sauna and the cold plunge. He's like, and then, but I'm all done that. It's like 11 o'clock in the morning. Like I lost all the time. He's like, yeah, don't do any of that stuff. Instead of wake up, start working. He's like, the problem with like successful people is that they tell you what they do now. They don't tell you what they did 20 years ago. He's like, you know what I did 20 years ago? Everything I hated. Yeah. I was like, I handed out flyers. I cold called. I did this. I did that. I did the other thing. I did all the stuff that I hated doing, so that now I can only do the stuff I love.
Yeah. And that's a very real thing. And I'm not only doing the stuff I love now. Like I do a lot of things I love mostly, but I also I wear every hat in my company right now. And so, and you know what that's like.
100%.
And so it's like, there's a lot every day that I have to do that I'm not happy about, but I accept.
Hiring that woman was the smartest move I ever made in my life.
I'm so happy for you. As soon as I saw her, I was like, that was a smart move.
It was, yeah. And I fought it for too long.
Well, I know. And yeah, it's important. We do need help. We do need help. And especially people like us, because I recognize it in me as well. I have it, which is like, I'm all alone. And that comes from our parents. And I know I'm not a narcissist, but I do have histrionic tendencies, which is an onset of that. And it's like feeling alone in the world and doing it all ourselves and wearing the heavy backpack and just putting more in and being like, I'll save everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm the savior. I think I look like you. I know I don't. I think I am this like person that can just take on the world and warrior through. And
you're like Mighty Mouse.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, here I come to save the day.
I am. I'm definitely a mouse. My husband calls me a mouse all the time. Yeah, he's like, you're a tiny mouse. No. I want to.
Is he a big UFC fighter too?
No. He's though he did judo. He's a black belt in judo. So he did something.
Oh, yeah.
But no, he does. He's in tech, in energy, so oil.
Oh, cool.
His family's in oil and all that, so he like leaned into the tech part of oil. Yeah, for a company called Enveris.
Sorry, we kind of got off track of so there's the 5 things with the Amar method, yeah. And then I was kind of asking about like the women who come. Like, what is it? What is the takeaway they're kind of looking for?
Yeah, so because I tailor, they come specifically to what I may be tailoring, but for the most part, if like on my last retreat, I had several of them that were like, this is too much. Like I do something called a permission ritual where, actually inspired by Garen, all these women are laying down and screaming, I have permission. And I begin. I lead them through a breath work, and then we begin to sort of express, I have permission. And man, that, I'll tell you, just to say that word and scream it, the freedom that it creates at a cellular level, because we don't feel we have permission from so many places in society that's telling us like, you can't eat too much or whatever. Women, but men too. When I have permission rituals with men, I can't tell you how many men like you, huge, strong, successful men, cannot scream, I have permission. Cannot scream it. I'm just like, what? I can't scream. What? And I'm like losing my shit in this hotel room. We've already told the cops that and everybody around like, hey, we're going to fucking scream.
Right.
But they're not able to do it. And they realize like, wow, I don't have personal power for my own self. I'm being held. It's so interesting too. Like every relationship with every man that I start with, it begins with immediate sexual desire. And I know you understand it. And it's like sexual desires. I'm a beautiful woman. I'm in the fucking ripe age, but mid-30s, I get it. But by the end, these men are like, I'm their sister, I'm their daughter, I'm their mother. They're just like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I had a hard on for you. Like, you are like, I want to protect you. Like, how do I, it just changes everything because we go so deep. Right. We unravel so much that in the end, they're like, I can never get a hard on for you.
Also, it's like, it's when you don't have, when you don't know someone as a totality of circumstance, when you only see someone,
a human, a ripe woman.
Well, no, but you just see someone, like I don't know, like on a menu. It's like, right. It's like, it's
the cover.
Yeah. It's
like judging a book by the cover.
Right. It's like, you're not, but once you like really, like, I can't tell you how many people like either when I first met them, couldn't stand them.
Yeah.
And then now they're my best friends.
Yes.
Or you'll see that they're like stunning and then they'll open their mouth and like, oh my God, please just stop. Right. People are not any one thing. You know what I mean?
No,
you can be very attractive and have a shitty personality, and then that personality is going to detract from your attractiveness.
Yes.
You could be average, a 7 or an 8 on a 10 scale, have an amazing personality, and that makes you a 12.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? So it's like, my grandfather used to have this he was in sales, and he used to say, like, looks open the door, but personality keeps you in the store.
Oh, I love that.
Right? So it's like, don't be afraid to play up your looks, or like, one of the things that has absolutely helped. Like, if I was like a 5'8" scrawny kid or guy, like, I probably wouldn't have had a very successful career as like a threat management guy. Yeah. But the fact that I look like
you look like you'll
no one ever asked me what I do for a living. Like, they got, you're military, safety, security, cop, FBI. I'm like, yeah. Like, no one, like, I'm never at a cocktail party and someone goes, oh, what do you do for a living? And I go, interior decorator. Right? Like, it's just not going to happen.
No, it's not. No.
Like,
I mean, if you go to a gay bar, maybe.
Yeah.
They may think that.
Or want that. One of the two.
Or want that. Yes. No, but no, I agree. I think that, so, I guess to answer the question about women, like, some feel very threatened by the stuff that comes up, and they're like, I was not expecting this. And I don't want to, I don't feel like, I've had women walk out of rituals or ceremonies or breath work. They're like, I'm not doing this. It's too much. Like, they're too triggered by the pain of others. Or they say, some women and men have said, like, I feel like my story, I have a privileged story. I'm not in that much pain. Like, wow, like, I'm in the wrong place, but I'm like, can you be in the witnessing of it? Can you allow this to radiate for you? You're not here by coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like, sometimes people are like, how do I know I'm being followed? It's like, well, if you make a left and they make a left, that could be a coincidence, right?
Oh,
if you make another left, that could be an anomaly, right? If you make a third left and they make a third left, you're being followed for running SDR.
Okay, I understand. I understand
so
that
there
level.
can be, but again, circumstances vary. Yeah. But I think, to your point about the people who go and they're like, but I don't have pain, right? You may not have pain, but you may have
Everybody
not.
has pain.
Yes. But there's a spectrum to that pain, right? There's I was abused pain, and then there was I
was neglected. Like, mom and dad were too busy.
Or not even, or neglected, certainly. But also just like never encouraged. Never.
Which is a neglection of sorts.
Yeah. But like, if you were, oh, you want to be an astronaut? You'll never be an astronaut. Oh, you want to be a cop? You'll never be a cop. You want to be like, that can be its own limiting belief.
Oh, but what is another one that I found that I'm like, wow. People who have been highly encouraged and highly enabled. So very privileged people who have
the
had
entire millennial class.
well, no, not entire, but yes. In many ways, technology did do that. But I'm talking about like, the individuals who were, like one of my clients is the daughter of a very powerful, very big tech individual that's in history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's in the shadow of that. And she's felt very, 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 very alone and overshadowed and with a great expectation. But all she's had is loving parents, lots of money, the best education in the world, incredible friends. No one's ever around her has ever been abused. She's never been physically abused. No one has ever touched her, like punished her. Like it's just, but she has enormous, enormous disconnect and pain around, first of all, pain itself.
Yeah.
Where is pain?
She has no AQ.
Yes.
Right? Because everyone champions like IQ, EQ,
yes.
but there's no AQ. If you don't have that adversity quotient, this is one of like, so I
love that you leaned into that. Yes.
Yeah. Because one of the things that when I like kind of talk to my clients about whether we're putting together like a family safety plan or a legacy plan or estate planning or whatever is they grew up with some kind of a disadvantage, right? They got a little chip on their shoulder that made them become super successful.
Yeah.
And now they have kids and they can give their kids the life that they never had, right? But giving their kids the life that they never had isn't going to
make them as strong as they are.
Right. Like they're not going to have to like go wash dishes so they could buy a Nintendo game or go scrub floors or get a paper route and get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
It removes humility in many ways too.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. Show me the successful son of a successful son.
Mm.
It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just don't have that adversity quotient. Like there was always food.
Yeah.
There was always comfort. There was always vacation.
And we want to take it away from our kids because we suffer so much. But I mean, I don't have kids yet, but I can lean into like, my niece, like how much I want to take her pain away all the time, my nieces. And I just, I have to let them go through it.
Do you think, so it's, for a long time, there was this like very patriarchal way society was run, and that is kind of starting to shift, right? Mm-hmm. Some for the good, some for the bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Because
it's not so great.
There was an article that came out not too long ago about did the women's movement actually make things worse for women?
I think in many ways it has. There are downfalls for sure.
And it wasn't just the women's movement, but it was like you see these like not champagne problems, but like champagne crusades, right? Like, so you'll walk through, like Westlake here, or Beverly Hills, and you'll see these like estates that have defund the police signs right next to their protected by private security force.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, yeah, but so you can afford to defund the police because you have your own private security.
Yes.
But the people that actually need the police. Yeah. So like, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
Or
I can't tell you how many times I know there are corrupted people out there, but just to have a police officer show up when you need it, oh my God.
Yeah. Like, good luck getting an awesome police officer to your door unless there's like shots fired or like someone's like violently beating on someone. Like, you call out and say, "Oh, someone stole my bike." They're like, "Buy a new bike."
Yeah, I know.
Because they cut like half the police force. But one of the other things the article touched on, and I'll find it and put it in the show notes, was that like men who refuse to hold the door open for women are much more likely to be predators of domestic and intimate partner violence because you want equal rights? Fine. I'm going to treat you like an equal, which means I get to beat up on you. Yeah. And you can beat up on me back, but guess what? Not going to happen. No. And it was, no, but I don't mean that to sound like funny, but like, it's like, you can see how that could really have an adverse impact on the culture at large.
Oh yeah.
If we're saying that everyone's equal when clearly we're not.
We're not equal. I know I have clients who in California who carry that, that rhetoric of, we don't need no man. We don't need men in the world. And it's like, You just drove through a highway like that was built by men. So let's just like get real. Like there's so much that we could not, just absolutely cannot do. Yeah. Like there's just no way. We can even be in the environment. Like first of all, everything chemically processed came from the oil industry, and we could not do it without men. Like that.
Well, no, it's not just that. Yeah, I mean, I completely. Yeah, we can start with all of that, but it's like all the people.
And then
who are
also
like,
creation.
all the people who are like, I hate guns and I hate the cops, but the first time they're scared, they call a cop with a gun. It's like, you see the disconnect, right? Like,
yeah, no, I
it's like everyone hates lawyers until they need one.
Yeah. I know. I don't think that there's reason to hate anything, to be honest. I think it's just like, hey, what are you traumatized by? And what are you being triggered for right now? Like, yeah. And who do you want to protect, you know? And what is particular about this story that requires attention and awareness, and like what happened to that person, and why is it tugging at your particular strings? And where's your guilt and shame around that you feel you need to lean so hard against the monster? Because that's the other thing. When people are like, he's a fucking monster, it's like, where can you do personal work so that you can take your finger off of them?
Yeah, I think the more we all try to be part of the solution instead of just, it's real easy
to point fingers.
It's real easy to point fingers. It's real easy to point out the problem.
Yeah.
Start being part of the solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I call out men all the time. It's like, listen, like, why aren't more, like when that runner in Georgia got killed, right? Running the trail. Like women were outraged. Like why weren't more men outraged?
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, these are our moms, our daughters, our sisters, our girlfriends, our wives who are not feeling safe out running. Like, hey boys, let's cowboy the F up and let's go sheepdog some wolves, because that's toxic masculinity isn't the presence of the strong masculine. It's the lack of masculinity.
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing. Many men don't know that they're in the toxic masculine. Mm-hmm. A lot. I know a lot of them that have no idea. And many come to me immediately met with that they have to be this persona because they don't know what the work is going to entail. And very, very quickly, within a few sessions, they know that they have been in their toxic masculine. Now, I don't lean into that and I don't point it. We unravel things, and they're like, oh my God, like this is so unacceptable that I'm behaving this way and that I'm treating people this way. And it's like, oh my gosh, where do I shift? How do I shift this? You know, it's like, and once there's awareness, there's awareness.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, I don't.
So I want to shift.
There's
I've been in the toxic masculine myself.
Find some guy who thinks he's an alpha and put him in jiu-jitsu for the first day and watch him get tapped out by like, you know, some like 100, like someone who looks like you who knows how to like fucking do an arm bar.
No, Mary.
Mary's great.
Fuck,
Mary's
I would
fantastic.
not want to be.
Yeah, no. Yeah, Mary's fantastic.
She's incredible.
But you know, I also see, like betas, when they try to act like an alpha, almost always get themselves into trouble.
Yeah,
because they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
you know I mean, it's just like listen to like know your role, know your. No, but I'm serious. Like, much like the jiu-jitsu thing, like you know, it's easy to talk the talk. Walking the walk's much harder.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting. If I've worked now with many jiu-jitsu and martial artists and some UFC fighters, you know, and so the thread always starts with a bully when they were children. Someone pinned them down. Mm-hmm. It just started with, sometimes it's a brother, sometimes it's someone like a bully at school. Sometimes it happened like, you know, someone broke into the house and pinned them down, you know, a robbery, and they just had I'll never be on the ground pinned again. I grew up in like Philly, right? So like it was all stand up and fighting. Like it wasn't until I got into the service that one of the guys on my team was in the jiu-jitsu, and we started doing some combatives. And next thing I knew, I was like, this guy, no problem. He turned me into a pretzel so effing fast. Like I didn't know which way was up. And I was like, I need to learn this. Yeah. I need to learn this. Is this a practice that you have? Something you do often?
Not recently, because my knee is in dire need of repair. But as soon as that's fixed, I'll get back into it.
We're going to talk about your knee at some point.
Yes, we will. Yes,
it's the emotional part of the knee.
My body has taken very good care of me for a long time, and now it's time for me to start taking care of my body.
Yeah, it's emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some of it's structural.
It's structural.
Yeah. No.
It begins if you can support it emotionally. The structure listens.
I'll tell you. I had this pain in my shoulder for like 2 years. Couldn't get rid of it. Right. Went to the doctor. Doctor couldn't. There's nothing wrong with your shoulder. Right. But it was this like deep pain. It would like radiate up my neck and blah blah blah. I did a breathwork session. And it was like the first time I had been able to take like a deep breath in like 15 years.
Yeah.
And I went like, and just being able to take that one deep breath, it was just like so much of that pain went away.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, wow, like there's some legitimacy to this.
Oh, absolutely. And breath work, what it does is you're basically getting in touch with all the emotional channels.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you're opening the whole thing. So you've done Kundalini work, not knowing it was Kundalini work. Breath work is you tap into the Kundalini.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just no one was
I wasn't doing like cat, cow,
moving.
cat, cow.
No, you don't have to.
Doing,
you can just do breath work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a chair.
Yeah, that's fine.
Breathing.
Yeah. But it can be intentional Kundalini.
We can call the rose by whatever name you want on.
You're like, no, I was not shaking it.
I could talk to you forever. I end every podcast asking 5 questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. What is a book what's your favorite book or the book you like gift the most?
Oh. So there's been a book that I've gifted a lot of people, but I don't want to mention that book because I don't want it to overshadow the book that I'm now gifting people.
Okay.
And this book, I'm going to say, you probably have read it. If you haven't, I really highly recommend it. It's called Becoming Supernatural.
Great book.
Yeah. And that that book.
Yeah.
I recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 1.
It's important.
No, it's the author's name escapes me, but we'll put it.
Joe Dispenza.
Oh, it is Dispenza.
Yeah.
I'm reading one of his books right now called it's not letting yourself go or learning to. Oh yeah. Learning to. Come on in. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, breaking the habit of being yourself. Yeah.
I looked over. I was like, she didn't come back in. Yeah, breaking the habit of being yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great book. That was the very first I read of his, and loved it.
Because he wrote Becoming Supernatural too.
Yes.
Yeah, he wrote both.
He's written several.
He's got like, I just looked him up. He's got like 10 books.
Yeah. He's radical. Yeah. What's the next?
Next one. If you had a time machine, you could go back in time to any time. Spend some time in
history.
Any time in history. Can't go forward, but you can go any time in the past. Where would you go?
I would go meet with Hitler.
You would go meet with Hitler.
I would coach Hitler.
You want to have Hitler on your couch? Okay.
He needed someone like me. He needed someone to see him with compassion.
You didn't need Eva Braun, that's for sure. Number 3.
Before he came into leadership.
So in prison?
Before leadership, yes. Before he was leaned into all his power.
That was after prison, though, right?
That was after prison.
Yeah, because you wrote Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
So you're the prison psychologist?
Perhaps.
I like it.
Yeah.
Wonder how much different the world would be then if like Hitler never came to power.
Yeah.
It's an interesting sliding door moment. Speaking of a sliding door moment, if you weren't doing this, one of those, I'm trying to think of where was a pivot point. Let's say like instead of coming to America, you went to Canada, or instead of going to LA, you went to New York.
Yeah.
What would sliding doors type of thing?
Yeah.
If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Man, that's an interesting, what a beautiful question. I was going to say I would be producing films, and I think I still may, but that's in the vein of things that I've done. I always wanted to be a teacher, and I think it falls into the same thing, but I think influencing children early on and really being a compassionate teacher and listening and really understanding what's going on at home and empowering that part of them.
Like an elementary school teacher?
Yeah.
Like a Montessori type thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see you being a film producer.
I'm definitely going to do that at some point.
Yeah.
I've done that before. I produced 10 films.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, but I'll go back. It will be films I want to produce, not shit that I was taking to submit. Yeah.
Not barefoot with your sister.
Mm-mm.
Aliens. Fact or fiction?
Absolute fact.
Okay. Like here walking among us or like out in the universe?
You know, I'll tell you really quickly. I saw something really, really strange at the Chateau Marmont many years ago.
Everyone has seen something very, very strange at the Chateau Marmont.
Yeah, I know. But this shit was fucking weird, man.
Okay.
I walked, there was a huge party, everybody was there. I remember that was the night I met Sean Stone, Oliver Stone's son, who is now in Austin. He's a great, great guy. But I was there, we were all talking, hanging out, and I followed someone, I don't want to say her name, but an actress. We were working together in a movie at the time. And I followed her. She said, oh, come with me, whatever. We're going to this like after party. And we went through and there was this door that I had never seen at the bottom floor. I never seen. And we went down the steps and at the door entrance, there was a person that let us in. This man, his eyes were completely, they were not contacts. This man was not wearing contacts. And he had the clammiest skin I've ever seen. It was like wet. He was completely wet. And he just held the door open for us. And she looked at me in the hallway and she said, no matter what you see, keep it to yourself. And I was like, what the fuck? So we walk in and I was like, what am I seeing? And I remember like immediately my brain started going, this is a costume party. Everyone's dressed up. And I'm like, what the fuck am I on? I wasn't taking drugs. I was very sober. I was very sober around her because she was a mess. So I walked around and I saw a man with a child on the table. There was some stuff going on. He actually got caught many years later for running a pedophile ring in a different country. And he hung himself. And then I told her I had to go. I ran out of there. I was feeling really distraught about what I was seeing. And when I was walking out, this man held my arm. The same man at the door, he held my arm. When he touched me, what I felt on my skin, I can't describe it. It was the exact understanding of, this is not a human being. This thing that's touching me is not animal. It's not human. I've never... It was the weirdest interaction. And I left. I ran away. And we ended up talking about it later. And she begged me not to tell anyone what I had seen and what I had experienced.
Well, certainly don't bring it up on a podcast.
Well, I'm bringing it up because I'm not saying names. So, but I came to terms with the whole thing. I was like, you know what? Whatever that may have been, that was very, very strange. But even just to get to that guy, I'm saying guy, maybe he had no sex. I have no fucking clue. That thing was weird. His eyes were so big. Like, it was not human. It was not human. He had no hair.
Like lizard-ish?
Maybe because he did, I have 17 snakes in my house. So I know reptiles.
Yeah.
Elliot loves snakes. So he breeds them and stuff. So I know snakes. This was not a reptile, but it was like in the vein, like more like a gecko. I don't know. And I described this to a friend of mine the other day. I was like, I'm remembering more and more what happened that day. And I'm so glad you asked. Yes, I do believe that aliens or a race that was here before we arrived. I have no fucking clue. Maybe we're the aliens.
I mean, there's definitely.
I have no fucking clue.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite, like when I get into like religious debates. And
yeah.
I always say like my favorite chapter in the Bible was that one about the dinosaurs. It's usually not met with much positivity.
Yes. I do believe that we must not be alone in the universe.
No,
sure.
100% not.
But are they here? I don't know. Have I seen weird shit? Yes. And I've heard crazy stuff.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I also met a man that has a pool full of vodka. And he bathes in it and drinks from it. And another one full of milk. Very, very wealthy man. And yeah.
You know why the rich are so eccentric? They can afford to be.
Yeah. A whole pool full of vodka. I'm like, you're not from here. You're crazy.
Last question. If you could have a billboard with just your message on it for the world to see, what would that billboard say?
where you are is not who you are.
I like that. Where you are is not who you are. This has been fun. We'll have to do this again.
It's been an honor.
If people want to learn more about you, where's the best place for them to go?
They can go to theamarmethod.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that link your Instagram and all that fun stuff?
Yeah,
as well?
the Amar Method. And Electra Stone is my name.
Okay.
You know, it used to be Electra Avejan, but I got married.
You got married.
Yeah, and so Electra Stone is my name now. Which
Electra Stone is a pretty cool name.
it is a pretty cool name. No one believes it's real. And you know, my twin sister's name is the same, and that's the whole thing. Her name is
Really?
also Electra, but she goes by Elise. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, so fun.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Spencer.
you.
Same.
Talk to you
This is
soon.
great. Same.
Cheers.